In this lesson, we are going to take a deep dive into the world of VBA coding. VBA, which stands for Visual Basic for Applications, is a powerful programming language that allows us to unleash our Excel superpowers. In this lesson, we will familiarize ourselves with VBA syntax, variables, data types, and perform a task using VBA coding. So, fasten your seatbelt and let's embark on this exciting coding adventure. Now, what is VBA syntax? VBA syntax refers to the rules and structure that govern how we write VBA code. It is like the grammar of the VBA language. Understanding VBA syntax is essential for writing correct and effective code. Now we have key elements of VBA syntax. We have the statement, the comment, and the indentation. For the statement, in VBA, code is written as a series of statements. Each statement performs a specific action or task, and statements are typically written on separate lines and end with a line break or a colon. While for comments, comments are essential for documenting your code and making it more readable. In VBA, comments start with an apostrophe, and anything after the apostrophe is ignored by the interpreter. While lastly, we have indentation. Although not mandatory, indenting your code improves readability and makes it easier to understand the structure of your program. Top programmers usually use consistent indentation to enhance code clarity. You will get to know all these key elements when we begin to write our code, so just stay with me. Now we have what we call variables and data types in Excel VBA. Variables are like containers that hold data in VBA. I talked about it in our previous lesson. Before using a variable, we need to declare it using the dim keyword. For example, dim my variable as integer. The keyword dim is short for the word dimension. It is used to declare variables and their types. And when you use it, it tells VBA that you are declaring a specific name as a variable and assigning a specific data type to it. We are going to apply it when we get to the part of writing our VBA code, so just stay with me. Number 2 is the data types. VBA supports various data types such as integer, string, boolean, double, and date. Choosing the appropriate data type is crucial for efficient memory usage and avoiding type-related errors. And lastly, we have the variable assignment. Variable assignment, we can assign values to variables using the assignment operator, which is equal to. Here we can say, for example, my variable is equal to 10, or x is equal to 10, and y is equal to 5. So that is the meaning of variable assignment. So we can assign values to variables using the assignment operator, which is equal to. Equal to this is the assignment operator. Alright, now that we have a good grasp of VBA syntax, variables, and data types, let's put our knowledge into action and learn how to write simple VBA code to manipulate Excel objects. Now, before we can begin to write our VBA code, we need to get access to the VBA editor. To get access to the VBA editor, you need to enable the developer tab. The developer tab gives you quick access to some of the more advanced features and functions available in Excel. By default, the developer tab is hidden, but on adding it is very quick and easy. So I have already enabled mine, but if yours is unable, this is how you can do it. Just take your mouse to this ribbon here and right click. Then you go to customize the ribbon. Then this will show up. All you need to do is to go to this place where you see developer and tick the box. When you finish ticking the box, you just click OK and the developer tab will appear here. You can see mine is here. By default, the developer type is always hidden. So if you have not enabled yours, this is how you can just do it. You take your mouse, right click, go to customize the ribbon, then you tick the developer box and automatically it will appear here. Okay, so now I want to write a VBA procedure that will help me split an Excel worksheet into individual workbooks. If you look at the screen right now, you will see that I have a lot of worksheets here. So I want to split each of them out of this workbook and make them stand alone as different files. So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 worksheets right now. I have 8 Excel spreadsheet. Now I want this spreadsheet to stand alone as a workbook, which means I want to split each of these worksheets into individual workbook or into individual files. And I want to use VBA to do that, because if I'm to do it individually, it will be very boring. I will have to open a new Excel file, then copy this into that Excel file, close it, do it 8 times, which will be very boring and kind of like time consuming. So I want to write a VBA code that will do that job for me within 5 seconds. Yes. Now the first thing you have to do is to first create a folder and drop the Excel file into the folder. I have done that. This is the folder that I created. So this is the main folder that I created. I created it for this purpose. So this is the folder and this is the main sheet here. The one that is open here, this is it here. That is the first thing that you have to do. You create a folder and drop that main Excel worksheet into the folder. Now when you have done that, go to the developer tab, which is this one here. You click on it. Then you go to VBA editor, which is Visual Basic. You can see it here. Open the Visual Basic editor, or you can use a shortcut which is alternate F11. So you click on it and the Visual Basic editor will open. The next thing you have to do is to either take your mouse here, click insert and click module, or you can just right click here and go to insert and click module. It is the same thing, just 2 ways to get it. So you just click module, and here we have our tab open for us to start writing our code. So I'm going to copy and paste my code, then I will explain everything step by step. So here's the VBA code that will do that job for me. Now let me explain each of this line one after the other. Now I know you already have an idea of this part because I explained it in the previous lesson. So this is sub, which you already know that. And the name given to this exercise is called split each worksheet. Remember, I gave the rules of how it should be written in the previous lesson. So split each worksheet is what I want to do. And as usual, you always end it with a parenthesis. Then dim WS as worksheet and also dim file path as string. In our previous slide, I talked about dim, which stands for dimension. So dim means I'm declaring WS as worksheet. So that itself is a variable. I'm declaring WS as worksheet, which means anywhere there is WS, it stands for worksheet. So you will always declare a variable. So I'm declaring WS to stand as worksheet, and I'm declaring the file path as string. Now what is the file path? The file path is where I want to copy all the Excel spreadsheets to. So that is the file path. So I want to split those Excel worksheets into individual files, and that is the path I want to put it there. So I am declaring it as string. What is a string? A string is a sequence of characters. The strings variable is used to hold strings of text. Now, I wrote something here, folder for the new files. This statement here is called comment. Remember, I said it when I was showing you that slide. When I said comment, I shared with you what comment is. Comment makes your work kind of like readable. It helps to describe the written code. And one good thing about it is that VBA ignores it while executing the code. They are used for the benefit of the programmer or future programmer who needs to understand the code for maintenance. So that is why it is very important to write comment, so that in case you are reading my code, you can easily understand every single statement, every single line. Okay, so folder for the new files. This is the folder for the new file. I said file path equals to. So I'm going to include the link here, which is the link for where I want to copy and paste that my files. So I will go back to the folder and get the link. So to get the link for this folder, just go to this place and click, and the link will show up. Then you just copy, which is Ctrl C, and go back to your VBA editor and paste it there. So let's paste it. So this is the file path. This is the part that I want all the Excel worksheets to be copied to. So you must always declare a file path. Alright. The next comment, I said look through each worksheet in the workbook. and I wrote for each worksheet. Remember WS, I said declare WS as worksheet. So for each worksheet in this workbook.sheet, this workbook there refers to the present sheet that the code is written in, which is the main sheet, which is this one here. So this is our main sheet. This is the sheet that the VBA code is affecting. So I said for each worksheet in this workbook.sheet, this line set up a loop that repeats itself through each worksheet in the current workbook. This is the workbook that the VBA code is affecting. In case you are confused, the Excel file itself is the workbook, while each of this sheet here is called worksheet. So don't get yourself confused. Each of those pages, or yes, each of these pages is called the worksheet. Let me use the word, but the file itself is called workbook. So the VBA code is written to affect this particular workbook. Okay, so this line here set up a loop that repeats itself through each worksheet in the current workbook. This statement for each is a loop statement that allows you to repeat a code for a set number of times in a sequence. So the VBA code will run for each of the worksheets inside the workbook. So for each is a loop statement that allows you to repeat a code for a set number of times in a sequence. While this worksheet.sheet here refers to the collection of worksheets within the current workbook. So this is how it is written. This workbook represents the workbook containing the VBA code, and sheet there is a property of the workbook that holds a collection of all the worksheets in the workbook. So that is what it means there. So dot sheet means that sheet itself stands for each of the worksheets inside the workbook. Then I said ws.copy, which means we want to copy each worksheet. So copy the current worksheet to the new workbook. Remember, we are copying each of these worksheets to form a workbook. They will stand individually by themselves. Now we have a worksheet here that says we have a worksheet. This one is index, this one is count if, this one is sum ifs. So these names here will stand as a workbook on their own. So we won't need to come here to look for them again. They will not stand as a single file. I know you may not get it now until when we get to the end of this, you will understand better. So let's just continue. Okay, so copy the current worksheet to the new workbook, which is ws.copy. That is how it is written. And before we proceed, have it in your mind that for this line of code is particularly used when you need to apply a set of actions or perform similar operations on multiple worksheets within a workbook. So you need to cram some of these lines yourself so that you can use them for other things also. So have it at the back of your mind. Why this is just to copy worksheet, the current worksheet, to a new workbook. So it is ws.copy. Then the next line is application.activeworkbook.saveas, which is the file equal to file path, the worksheet name, and the extension. You know, Excel extension is this. Let me break down the meaning of each component. Now let's start with this one here, application. Application, this refers to the Excel application itself. It is a built-in object in VBA that represents the Excel application and provides access to its various properties and method. While for this .active workbook, this refers to the currently active workbook, which is what I showed you before. It represents the workbook in which the VBA code is currently running. So that is .active workbook. While the .saveas, which is this one, this is a method of the workbook object that is used to save the workbook with a new file name or in a different file format. So save as, then this is the file name. This file name here is a parameter of the save as method that specifies the file name and the path for the save file. So we don't need to start putting that file path here again, because we have already cleared that file path is equals to this link here. So anywhere we put file path, it is already representing this link here. So we have to write name here, so we don't need to start putting that link there again because I've already declared it. So the file path is a variable that represents the file path where you want to save the file. Okay, then we have the AND, this AND here. This is a concatenation operator in VBA. It is used to combine strings or variables together. In this case, it is used to concatenate the file path, which is this one here, with an empty string, which is this one here, to ensure the correct formatting for the file path. And also we have two AND here, so it is combining two strings. And we have the ws.name. It represents the name of the current worksheet within the loop repetition. Why did we do this? This is to make sure that each of these Excel file will carry the name of their worksheet. So we have a file that is called if, another file will be called VLOOKUP, just like that. So then we carry that name along with themselves. Then we have this one here. This is the file extension for Excel files. It indicates that the saved file will be in the Excel workbook format. So if you want to save yours in CSV, you can decide to change that extension there. So when this line of code is executed, it saves the active workbook with the specified file name and file format at the location specified by the F part here, which is this one here. So all the file will be saved in these file parts. Alright, so we have closed the new workbook. Now this line of code closes the newly created workbook without saving any changes. The first argument, which is this one here, this first argument here, indicate that the workbook should not be saved before closing, which means if you have made any changes before you perform this action, that changes you made will not be saved. So that is the work of the first argument. I use it because I did not make any change to each of the workbooks. So if I have made any change and I want that changes to be saved, I won't use this argument there. But I just included it there because I know I didn't make any change and I want each worksheet to remain the same. That is why I included this argument here. The next one is next WX, which is next worksheet. This keyword moves the loop to the next worksheet and the process repeats until all worksheets have been processed, which means after the action has been performed in one worksheet, it moves it to the next worksheet and perform that same action to the next one, the same action to the next one, till all the worksheet has been processed. And I want a message box to tell me that the worksheet splitting is completed successfully. So I just want to display a message when the splitting is completed. So this is how you can do that. It's message box, then you open apostrophe, then you can write any statement that you want to write. I just want to write worksheet splitting is completed successfully. Then I include a comma. I want that title there to have notification, just the way you have message alerts on your phone or anywhere else. I want mine to appear as notification. Then we have the end sub. You already know what this means. Remember, I explained it in the previous lesson. So the end sub end your VBA code. Alright, so I'm very sure you understand all the parts of this FBA procedure. If you don't understand, you can repeat this part of the video so that you can get the real message. Alright, so it is time to execute the VBA code and let's see the action that is going to take place. Okay, so I'm going to run this code and we are going to see how it will be done and the seconds it will take to do that. It won't be up to, let's say, 10 seconds. I will go to our folder and you will see how each of the file will be created individually. So let me run the code and you will see how it will be done. So I'm going to execute it right now. Let's go. The if is been created. The sum if has been created. That is the sum if x. This is the count if index. This is the index match. VLOOKUP. We have the x lookup. And we are done with everything. As you can see, it wasn't even up to 10 seconds. Let's check if we have that display message. Let me minimize this. Oh, as you can see, worksheet splitting is completed successfully. You can see that worksheet splitting is completed successfully. And look at the notification that I said it should write on top. So if I click this, it's already done. This is our worksheet. So let's assume you have a report and your boss wants you to split each of those worksheets into individual files. You can use this VBA code to get that job done. You can see one benefit of knowing how to write VBA code. So there you have it for this lesson. I am very sure you understood this very well. For your own, I am leaving the dataset and the VBA code files in the resource box. I will advise that you watch this video twice for better understanding. So I'll be leaving this VBA procedure as a file in the resource box, and I'll be leaving the dataset also so that you can practice it and understand it better. Remember, you'll be using a different file path here, so you have to copy your own file path and paste it here. So you won't need to use mine because we're not using the same computer. All right, thank you for your time and see you in the next lesson.